Oh dear, Crimson Desert is awake, and everyone has been losing their minds over this game. Welcome back, my wonderful wise ones, to a fantastic video today. I'm very excited to be talking about Crimson Desert once again. Now, I did say in my early review that people were going to lose their minds pretty much over this, and I tried to keep hype reasonable, set some realistic expectations because the hype machine for this game was just insane. Looking at the hype charts, I haven't seen dangerous critical levels of hype as bad as this for a long time, not since something like Elden Ring or something like that, because people were expecting this to be the next big Red Dead Redemption, the next big Elden Ring, the next big Skyrim killer, and I said it wasn't that. And I'm not saying, I'm right and everyone else is wrong. Obviously, I am. No, I'm joking. But it does seem that a lot of people tried this game out and they weren't happy with it. And then the other part is true that a lot of people have been playing this game and they absolutely love it. Because funny enough, I just hate this modern world where we can't understand that everyone, literally every single fucking individual, has different opinions, okay? That's how the world works. When someone says they like something, it doesn't mean you need to crucify them for actually liking something. If someone doesn't like something or has a different belief system from yours, that's okay. And it's crazy I have to say this, but it's just so insane how many people get so offended and so upset over other people's opinions. It goes back to stoicism, of focusing on things that you can control and letting go of external events that are without your control. But modern society cannot do that whatsoever, especially on the internet. They take everything very personally, so you either love this game or you hate it.
So I figured it out. Why hot dogs come in packages of 10 and hot dog buns come in packages of 8. See, the thing is that life doesn't always work out according to plan. So, be happy with what you got, so you can always get a hot dog.
So welcome back. Today I'm going to be discussing, is Crimson Desert bad? Does Crimson Desert suck? And everyone who is saying Crimson Desert sucks and Crimson Desert is bad and it's the worst video game to ever exist have lost their minds, in all honesty, okay? Now, personally, I'll be honest with you, after putting more hours into this game, it's not my kind of game, okay? It's not my cup of tea, per se. Speaking of which, grab yourself a cup of tea, relax, sit back, grab yourself a snack, get cozy, and subscribe to the channel if you are new, and consider checking out my music on Spotify. My new album is coming out at the end of this month. That's the quick shilling I have for you today before we get more into Crimson Desert. So yes, Crimson Desert doesn't exactly appeal to me with everything that it does, but there's so much in this game that I do like that it's stupid and just irresponsible to say it's a bad game, objectively. Of course, you might subjectively say it's a bad game for you, but I don't think personally, it's a bad game for me, and objectively, you cannot say that this is a bad game, but it's not going to be for everyone, and it's certainly not a masterpiece either. I don't think it's, it holds a candle to the beloved Skyrim, in my opinion, or, games like Red Dead Redemption 2, for example, or Elden Ring. There are many different games out there that just have a masterclass in presentation, gameplay, storytelling, world building, lore, the universe, gameplay mechanics, the artistry that goes into something, all of this stuff. Now, Crimson Desert has some sloppified elements in the video game itself. Gameplay-wise, it's a little bit all over the place. Mechanics, it's a mixed bag of absolutely everything. Funny enough, throwing everything at a wall doesn't mean that it's going to do all of these things perfectly. In fact, that's what I was mostly concerned about, was how many things they're trying to make Crimson Desert do. They're trying to make this the ultimate video game, and that hurts the game, funny enough, because a game can't be everything, because you need dedicated time to flesh out each mechanic, so it ends up feeling very, just overblown and, just stuffed with so much content. Content for the sake of content, not fun gameplay mechanics that deserve the attention they need to be better. So that's the problem I have with Crimson Desert. But let's get into the controversy surrounding this game, what's actually happened recently. and I want to talk more about what this game is actually like, you know, now playing it much longer, and everyone's, you know, perception of it, what people are saying about this game, what people are talking about, and the whole drama around Crimson Desert, to truly answer the question, is Crimson Desert bad? And give you an objective take on, you know, if this is a bad game, if it's a good game, because you're either on either side. You hate this game or you love this game. There doesn't seem to be a balanced middle ground, so that's what I hope to do in this video today. So let's get straight into this. Okay, so now let's discuss Crimson Desert, and is Crimson Desert bad? Let's find out and look at all of the details. And if you are new to the channel, please do consider subscribing. It does mean absolutely everything to me. This is everything that I am. My being is to build this community up, to discuss things that I care about, like philosophy and gaming. If you like a deeper look at gaming, a real human touch instead of all of this AI shit, an actual community that focuses on the artistry of games and their themes and stories, early reviews, video essays, all of that good stuff, subscribe, become a wise one today. I would appreciate it a lot. And like I said, do go check out my music on Spotify. Thank you very much.
Let's go already!
Okay, so first I just want to have a quick look at what Crimson Desert has recently said about them using generative AI. Now, a lot of things have happened in the last few days. I'm going to make a whole separate video. I know I'm late on the subject, but I want to do a philosophical analysis of why DLSS 5 is so bad for gaming and art and the human spirit. Everyone's talking about it from a, you know, mechanical perspective and protecting the artists. That's all very good, but it goes a lot deeper than that. This is the most disgusting technology I've seen in a very long time. So I'm going to make a whole separate video about that. So I will be addressing AI stuff in that video, the deeper reasons as to why you should actually care about this stuff and why it's very, very damaging to the human spirit and just disrespectful for any artist, okay? And especially the games that you love. But now let's quickly take a look, because Crimson Desert were found using AI in their video game. Let's take a quick look. So as you can see here, some of the art assets that they used in-game are actually AI made. As you can see, it makes zero sense what the fuck is happening with those horses. And the crazy thing is, they could have used real art that has no copyright. So now, is Crimson Desert AI slop? No, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that the whole game is bad just because they used, you know, AI once to, you know, cut some corners. I think it's pretty shitty of them, because the thing I have the problem with AI and how it's being used today, I'm not going to go on a whole rant, like I said, I'm going to save that for another video, but there needs to be a, you know, way to label it. There needs to be a way to look at it straight away and say, okay, that's AI shit, that's AI slop, because I know for some people, you might like AI. If you like AI, that's fine. I think you're wrong completely, but, you know, agree to disagree, because AI doesn't create, okay? It scrapes data, compiles it from real art, and steals art, and then just, you know, puts it all back together again to generate a new image. So it's generating, it's not creating. It's a completely different format compared to how the human consciousness, you know, gets ideas from our emotions, our psychology, our human background, our experiences, the metaphysical Platonic ideas that manifest into our reality, all of the stuff that makes us human, that makes art important. This shit is just generating code that, you know, just steals art and then slaps it together. So it's not fucking creation, okay? It's an insult to everything that we should care about. I'm sorry if I'm getting a little bit hot under the collar, but this really means a lot to me, because, you know, like, it's already such a saturated market. You think my music will ever stand out? You think any artist will ever have a chance to be found if we're just, you know, consumed by AI slop? No, of course not. So the fact that they did this instead of hiring actual artists to create assets, it's very insulting, and they should have labeled it as such. So let's just see what they said as a response.
Don't ask questions. Just consume product and then get excited for next product.
So this is what they said. They said, we would like to address questions regarding the use of AI in Crimson Desert. During development, some 2D visual props were created as part of a stage iteration using experimental AI generative tools. These assets helped us rapidly explore tone and atmosphere, blah, 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 blah. So basically they're saying they used it as a foundation when they are creating, you know, the art style and the assets in game. They should be placeholders, but instead of being placeholders, they became actual assets in the game. They never got changed, and they did this to cut corners because this game is huge. It's so massive, and that's one of the problems with Crimson Desert, is it's so massive, but the depth isn't quite there. The interesting stuff that you actually do in the game is a little bit shallow, so I'll talk about that more in a minute. But basically, this is what they said. Following reports that, you know, we basically got caught, you know, we're going to take full responsibility. So they are kind of apologizing. They acknowledge that they should have disclosed it, and they're going to basically do a full check on the game now to, you know, address these issues. But still, this is kind of crazy that big AAA studios are now resorting to using AI in their games to replace art and actual assets. And yeah, it's a pretty scummy thing to do.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
So that's some of the recent drama and backlash from Crimson Desert recently, but also it goes a lot deeper than that, because the reviews of Crimson Desert, ever since, you know, the reviews dropped for Crimson Desert, and I did my Crimson Desert review, the early access one, and everyone else dropped their full Crimson Desert review, basically it's been all over the place, okay? So you get people absolutely hating this game, you get journalists saying it's absolute trash, but then they're not actually playing it correctly, like IGN. They complained about the bosses being too much of, you know, kind of bullet sponges, and not bullet sponges, but you know what I mean. You know, they took too much damage and they were getting one hit, and the difficulty spike was just insane. And that's because this game is a grind, okay? It's the first of its kind in many ways, because this is a single player MMO-like experience. It's not an RPG, as they kept saying it wasn't an RPG, which I also said, because it isn't, but it does have some of the skill progression of an RPG, but the world, the questing, the dialogue, the story, all of this feels so MMO-like, and that's because they're an MMO studio, so it's not surprising that they stuck with that, what they know. And anyone who's ever played Black Desert should know that the combat is great, the world is interesting to look at, but there's no reason story-wise to go out and explore. Characters are not that interesting, and basically the universe, the lore that they built, you know, has some interesting stuff going on, but that's not the focus of Crimson Desert or Black Desert, okay? It's about doing fetch quests, it's about clearing out camps, it's about having massive, massive battles, and some of the battles in this can literally go on for like hours just to clear a massive camp. This is one of those games that you can spend hours and hours and hours playing, but you're basically doing the same thing in different locations. But because of the combat being so good, because of so many different mechanics going on, it doesn't get boring because you're always doing something. There's always something new, but at the same time, it's copy and pasted, if that makes any sense. So it's such a weird mixed bag of a game where it's very bloated, and it's kind of the problem I have with Ubisoft games. That's why I'm not a big fan of it, but at least it does do interesting things mechanically with its physics, with its combat, and the world is so beautiful. The detail is crazy. It's a PC-focused game, so you need a good PC to really appreciate it, which I don't really have, but, you know, I've got a good enough rig that I can appreciate it, or, you know, if you're on PS5 or Xbox X or something. But for people who are playing on Xbox S, you know, this game does not look good for that console. So it's such a weird mixed bag of an experience. That's the problem with Crimson Desert.
You're goddamn right.
So the interesting thing about this whole Crimson Desert since release is, first of all, it landed on a mixed rating, which is kind of surprising. And I was kind of off with my Metacritic prediction. I said, you know, between like 80 to 90, but it actually got in the 70s. So it's kind of, you know, a better than average game, but it's not a masterpiece. It's kind of just mid or good, some people would say. But for Steam reviews, there were so many people giving it terrible reviews to begin with that it was getting completely downvoted. It was at a mixed rating. Now it's moved up to a mostly positive review, or very positive, I mean, so it might go back down to mixed again. But it is kind of weird how a massive surge of suddenly positive reviews are coming out. Now that could be because it has finally found its audience and people are just enjoying the game for what it is. And some people are saying that maybe, you know, people are being paid to do, you know, positive reviews, and a lot of influencers were shilling this game and stuff like that. Like, you know, I do think that is true to a degree with the influencers shilling for this game. That's what you have to remember. A lot of it is marketing today, so be careful with who you trust. Make sure that they're not just trying to shill something to you or get access with developers, like greedy, disgusting goblins. I vow not to do that, but you can never be sure who's out there. A lot of them literally don't actually give a shit about the game. They're just hyping it up so they can get access. It's access journalism, and it's disgusting, okay? But anyway, a lot of people now are saying the game is great. Some people say it's an amazing game, like Witcher 3. No, it's not. And Elden Ring had a baby. Not really. But some people are saying that. It very is much Dragon's Dogma and Zelda. I would agree to that, but without maybe some of the interesting lore or the, you know, like weighty physicality of Dragon's Dogma 2. But yes, I would agree with that, with the puzzles and everything. A lot of people are now saying it's a great game, amazing game, absolutely loving it. You can, you know, like make friends with animals, build up like relationships with your pets and all this kind of stuff. Like, it's very MMO-like. There's a lot to love, there's a lot to do. But then on the other side, there's a lot of people who hate this game. So for example, this one says the game is absolutely terrible. The actual problem is that basically it's filled to the brim to distract you. So there's constant fighting, you know, constant packs of bandits and stuff like that that will just try and one-shot you. A lot of people are having a problem with the control system itself, which is very janky, and it takes a lot to, you know, get used to it and learn. A lot of people saying that the story is non-existent, like you go and do quests, but you have no real context or reason as to why you're doing something, which is true. And a lot of people find that very unsatisfying, which funny enough, it would be, unless if you can, you know, just make fun, you know, in your own headcanon, or, you know, just enjoy messing around in the open world. This game so miserably tries to be everything at once and fails to be anything at all. That's also what a lot of people are saying. It just tries to do too much. It feels very MMO-like, except you're completely alone. Yeah, like maybe if it had a co-op element, it might be a bit better. A lot of people are having technical issues as well, which apparently is a big problem with the game, like optimization. It runs well, but there's some bugs and visual glitches and stuff like that. A lot of people complain about the dialogue being very wooden, and yes, it is. Take a quick look at some of the dialogue. It feels almost AI written at times.
It's said to seek it out, to find strength within.
It is a call to prove yourself through trial. The place you seek lies far from here, but our powers can have you there in an instant. Beyond this point lies the Crimson Desert. The one who called you waits past its sands. The trial ahead will not be gentle. This is as far as we go.
The way characters talk is completely unnatural in this game, but the good things about it is the combat, it is the exploration. The puzzles can be frustrating for many people because you will basically have to look up how to do them, unless if you can figure it out yourself, and they don't really hold your hand at times, but sometimes it is very obvious and they do kind of spell it out for you. Everything is interactable, but instead of feeling, you know, intuitive, like you have to give Bethesda props for this. Like, I know they're not that good anymore, but like when you look at Skyrim or something, like it feels so natural, you know, picking up potions, raiding everything. This game tries to have that level of interaction, but the controls are so clunky. Like the way you know, want to engage with an NPC or literally do anything, there's submenus to submenus to submenus. So if you're not a fan of something like Starfield, it's weird that this is getting praise from people who hate you know, that kind of experience, but there's a lot of micromanagement in this game as well. But yes, it is a fluid open world, so there's not like tons of loading into areas. So there's just a lot of things that is just janky about Crimson Desert. A lot of it is, it feels like an open world with so much filler content, and the filler content, sadly, is the main content in this game. The main story is basically side missions in most games, fetch quests in most games. There's no reason to do anything. There's no lore reason to really care, and you can find lore, but there's never a reason to really want to be honest. And the game is packed with so many things to do, but because it's so packed, like each thing is very simple in its design. Like the mini games are just, you know, like random quick time events. They're nothing that special. There's not enough good loot to find. right now in the game, like the amount of time that you spend in it and the amount of loot that you get. It doesn't feel like a good ratio balance at the moment of exploring and finding good loot. Technical issues aside, the controversy with AI, the fact that a lot of it is just combat. A lot of it is all just about combat, raiding camps, and then the weird difficulty spike in its boss design and the normal combat. So it basically feels like a character action game when you're fighting mobs, but when you do find the bosses, and that is a huge highlight in this game, is fighting these bosses. They're very well designed actually, but then it feels like a completely different game. Instead of being a coherent game, it just feels like, oh, we want the difficulty spike of like a Souls-like experience, so we're going to make that for the bosses, but then the rest of the game isn't going to have that. So it has this weird feeling that it's not really connected. It feels kind of disconnected in that regard. But of course, I'm not saying it's unfair. You just have to grind. You have to grind, you have to go explore to level up and then come back, fight the bosses, get better gear, all of this kind of stuff. But honestly, is Crimson Desert a bad game? I don't think it is a bad game, but it certainly isn't for everyone. Like I said, this is really the type of game for people who just want endless amounts of content, who like a massive world for just, you know, exploring that world, you know, going across, seeing the map, you know, feeling like you're going on a journey. It's very good at that. But for people who want to find something meaningful along the way on that journey, this is not for you. And that's the big problem I see. Some people are fine with it just being, you know, a massive map with good combat, things to do, activities to take part in. But for people like me, we want a reason to do all of these things. Interesting quests, good story, and a more tightly designed experience with its mechanics. Crimson Desert then isn't for you. So it's a very mixed bag. A lot of people hate it, a lot of people love it, but to answer the question, is Crimson Desert bad? And for people who are saying Crimson Desert sucks, I think that's not an objective take. I think you could say that this game is certainly a good game to a mid game, and it just depends on your preference. But to say it's a bad game would just be unfair to the amount of detail that's in this game, to the great combat system. But it's certainly not a masterpiece. That has been my opinion so far on it, and I think that's a healthy mindset to take. Please let me know what you think about Crimson Desert down below in the comments. I'll be very curious to see what you think, and I'll be seeing you in the next video. Have a great day. Peace out.